In the spirit of reconciliation, Up Past Bedtime would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of all the incredible lands in which we record this podcast. By extension, we pay our respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, their past and present elders, and the connection they have to Australia's land, sea, and community. Okay, real talk. I am not a high-intensity 5 a.m. gym girl. I'm sorry, but that is just not me. But I do still want to feel like I've got the energy to get through the day, whether that's chasing toddlers or going to a more appropriately timed gym session, whichever activity is allocated to be my daily workout, lol. And that's where New Harvest's pre-workout seriously comes as my I need to be a functioning adult today bestie. I've been using it for years now, and it is hands down my go-to for activities where I need a boost. It gives you clean, focused energy, like the equivalent of 2 cups of coffee, but without the gross crash or jittery buzz that some other pre-workouts have. It's made with natural, vegan ingredients and no weird nasties, so it feels good to take too. And my favorite part, the sour worms flavor. Yes, that's really what it's called. And yes, it actually tastes like those trolley lolly sour worms. Like, how is something that gives me energy and focus also giving childhood lolly vibes? I'm obsessed. New Harvest is female founded and all about creating wellness products that are made with women in mind. Nothing intimidating, no gym bro energy, just simple, supportive supplements that fit into real life. If you want to try it out, head to www.nakedharvestsupplements.com and use the code BELLSMESSINA for a cheeky little discount. That's code BELLSMESSINA for 15% off full price products. All these details are in the show notes as well. Hello and welcome back to Up Past Bedtime. I'm Bella Messina and I am going to be staying up late with you tonight. And I have a really special guest that I am going to be chatting with today. Today's episode is all about single motherhood. It is something that a lot of you have been asking for and wanting a dedicated episode on. And to kind of help me unpack the journey of single motherhood, I have invited on the incredible Marcia Leone. If you have been on Instagram for a while, especially in the motherhood space, then you would definitely know Marcia. She is one of the OG mummy influencers who started sharing her journey as a married mother of 2 and is now a 100% custody single mother. But what I find most impactful about Marcia is how much she has evolved both personally and professionally, and how openly she has shared that journey with her community. In the past few years, she's gone through a huge life shift, navigating a very real, very painful marriage breakdown, becoming a single mum, and then she has still shown up online, building a business and raising her kids with so much strength and honesty during that whole process. She is someone who has walked through the fire and come out the other side. And she has not pretended that everything's perfect and that everything's fine, but proving that you can rebuild a life and find yourself again, even after your marriage ends. So with all this in mind, I knew that I wanted to have her on the pod to talk with me about single motherhood so that we could kind of give a then versus now perspective. And I thought this would be really powerful because right now I'm in the thick of it, but she's down the road a little bit. So we can talk about the same topic, but from very different perspectives. And I'm not going to lie, the chat is amazing and there is something so healing and so grounding and also almost comforting hearing from someone who's not only gone through it, but has survived it as well. Welcome to season 3 of Up Past Bedtime with me, Bella Messina. This season, we're doing something different, something special. This is going to be a true exploration of womanhood, of reconnecting to who I am and who I want to be. We're diving deep into my journey of rediscovery and growth as I navigate motherhood, healing, and everything in between. This season, I'm inviting you to come along with me because maybe you're finding your way back to yourself too. This is our season to rediscover her. Think of this as our late night heart to heart where nothing is off limits. Because as always, the best conversations happen when you're up past bedtime. Hello, Marcia, and welcome to Up Past Bedtime. I'm so excited to have you on. Now, I have done a pre-recorded intro to you. So the guests kind of get a semi-idea of who you are and what you're about if they've never crossed paths with you before. But I am going to get you to kind of give me an elevator pitch on you and what you're about. I kind of said you're like an OG mum creator, right? Like you were in that first wave on Instagram, like when influencing wasn't really a thing and you were doing that type of content. And then I did touch on a bit that you and I have met personally on a motherhood retreat that I went on last year in the pits of my postpartum depression. And I've shared about that retreat. And obviously I met Kelly there, who's been a previous guest on me. So we have a bit of crisscrossing over, but why don't you give a little pitch about who you are and what you're about?
Yeah, well, I do call myself the accidental influencer because I never started out to become an influencer. I started out with a little blog. So in early motherhood, so just had a baby, I had a really full life. Great career, travel before kids. And then I was like, what the hell? I just in this world of Googling poo color and mashed banana and all those things. And I was like, okay, there's got to be something for mums like me who want to retain a sense of self and style or whatever they were into before motherhood. So I thought I'm going to start. This is blogging. Blogging was in back then. This is like 13 years ago. So I started the blog and then Instagram just launched. I thought I'll just do this little Instagram thing to promote the blog on the side. And I just came in at that right time. Within a couple of years, I was working with brands and I just wanted to build a community of like-minded women. That's what I wanted. And there was no mumfluencers or anything at that time. I don't think I could start it now, to be honest. If someone said I'll become an influencer now, I would just be freak out and go absolutely not. So it was a natural evolution. So I've just taken my community through everything from early motherhood, through all the vulnerabilities of fertility, all the way up to, family life, juggling all of the things, and then into separation, divorce, just life. When you're sharing online and you want to share from a vulnerable space, you kind of have to share the ins and outs that a lot of us go through, the highs and the lows, whilst trying to keep some things private at some times and not sharing. Like it's a very tricky balance. But basically I have a platform, not so mumsy. I've built a pajama brand off the back of it. I now do mother's retreats and now I'm in the season of finding the woman inside the mother and sharing that journey with my followers as my kids have got a little bit older. Yeah.
So Marcia has a daughter how old is Poppy? 8?
She just turned 8.
Yes. Yeah. And then a son who's a teenager. So you're really in the back end of the whole child rearing sort of years now. Whereas I got 2 and 3. So I'm still well and truly
You're right in it.
But I feel like everyone who's kind of in the social media space, especially in the mum social media space, I feel like a lot of us just sort of fell into it. And it's been like an organic sort of progression over time. I feel it's very rare these days to have that like boom where someone just pops up overnight. It's funny because people always ask me when I say that I went on the motherhood retreat with you, they're like, oh, did you follow Marcia for years and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I only followed her maybe 12 months before you started doing the retreat because you had been on a podcast and it popped up on my feed and it was about you learning to accept the season you're in and sometimes accepting that like you can't do it all and maybe it's not the season for me to build my business and it's not the season for me to do all these different things. At the time I was a full-time stay-at-home mum and I remember listening to that and being like, oh, I'm so glad someone said this because I was like, I do not have the capacity to have it all right now. Like I just don't. I can't do the 50 million things that social media is telling me that I should be on top of and doing and thriving in. And I just remember feeling like that sense of relief of hearing you say that. And then
I did try to do it all, but then it definitely, I did try, when I was in the boss mum era. In the early days of Instagram, it was like, boss mum, we can do it all. We can run a business. We can do this. And then, the reality is it's just, totally.
Yeah. And then I followed you, and then I saw you promote the retreat, and I pretty much just like blindly went in, was like, this is either going to be great or I'm going to like be like, oh, great, I just wasted so much money on that. And it was the best thing I've ever done. I always say to people all the time, I'm like, oh my God, go follow Marcia. And if you see her promoting her retreat, you have to go. You have to go. It was amazing. Kelly and Marcia are amazing, like changed my whole perspective on everything. And I remember when I was there, I was feeling so low, and, you know, there were lots of other women going through the same thing and listening to everyone's stories. And then, of course, you and Kelly shared, you know, your own personal journeys and things you've gone through. And I just remember thinking, wow, like you had really gone through such a big transition. And like people always ask me to talk about single mum life. And I'm like, well, you know, I'm really in the front end. Like I haven't even reached a year yet of being a single mum. And I'm like, I'm still on my feet and I'm still learning. So when, you know, this season we were doing a season of change and I knew that people wanted to hear about single motherhood, I kind of said to my business manager, I need to get a mum on here that has been a single mum for a lot longer, is kind of through the first really rocky type of period that I'm in, where you're really faking it and winging it and just praying for the best. And I was like, I know that I have to get Marcia on, because I was like, I just know she has so much to share and she's impacted me so much. And I do think of you a lot when I'm having some like struggles. I do think back to a lot of the things you shared at the retreat and being like, okay, this is normal. You can do this. Like you're going to be okay. I guess, you know, the biggest thing that I always get asked is like, did you see it coming? Did you ever imagine yourself as a single mom? And in my experience, I didn't at all. Like I was really taken aback by the transition that I had. Did you feel the same? Like, did you feel like that process was a shock to you, or was it a shift that you kind of felt like this isn't working for me, I need to make the change? How did that sort of come about?
I never in my life would have seen myself as a single mum. I watched my sister go through it, and she had with her kids, they were really young, they were 2 and 9 months. And looking back now, I was younger, I didn't have children at the time, and I didn't really support her, like, because I didn't really know how challenging that transition would be. But I never in my life, and it actually wasn't, I had a light bulb moment one day when I was like, oh my God, I actually don't have to stay in this. That was my life. I was like, and I had never had that thought before. And I was like, oh, there is another way. And it had never crossed my mind. And I actually went through, this is like 2020, 2021, COVID at home. I think a lot of people started reflecting on a lot of things in their lives. I was approaching, late 30s, turning 40, which is a big midlife shift for a lot of women as well. And it's like, okay, what do I want out of life? What do I want out of my relationships? What do I want for my children? And it was like a light bulb, you know, and at that time I knew that that this was the right path. I knew it was going to be hard, but I never once wavered in did I do the right thing? Yeah,
I get that. I think mine was very sudden, and then, you know, it wasn't a thing of like, oh, we're going to get divorced like right away, right? It was like, I need space and I need some time from you, and let's just take a break and kind of see where this is going. And I know a lot of that came from fear of being like, I don't think I can do this by myself. And then I remember like kind of getting, you know, into my own house, doing my own thing. And maybe it was like a month later, I was like, oh, I can do this. Like that same sort of light bulb moment where I was looking around and I was like, this is possible. Like I can move in this direction if I want to. Like you don't have to have fear take that choice away from you. And I feel like that was a really powerful thing, because I feel like, especially with relationship breakdowns when it comes to children, a big thing that plays in your mind is, can I do this? Can I actually do this? And I feel like a lot of women stay because they believe they can't. And so I feel like it's always interesting to talk to people and ask, like, especially other single moms, was it something that was like a slow process or something where you kind of light bulbed, or how did you get into that situation?
I'm in the privileged position where I had a successful business and I had my own money.
Yes.
There are so many women in my DMs constantly that aren't happy in their marriage, or, you know, they have toxic situations, but they can't leave because they don't have that safety net for themselves. So I feel like I was very privileged that I could make that decision?
That was me. I left my husband $400 in my bank account. In a bank account in my own name, $400. I had to, get someone to co-sign a rental lease with me because I was a stay-at-home mum, and the rental agency was like, well, you have no income history. Like, yes, I was doing social media, and thank God I was, because I was able to build that up. But when I left, it was really a part-time sort of like side hustle sort of thing. I've shared on social media before that the previous financial year I had made $46,000 as my like yearly income, which is great for a side hustle, but not enough to be like, oh, I'm going to be a single mom and do my kids. I do 50-50 custody. You do 100% now, which is a significant undertaking. I find when you were making content around being a mum, sharing that sort of life, obviously so much of your identity is rooted, I felt the same, is rooted in being a mum, sharing my life as a mum, sharing my life as a wife. How did that shift go for you at first?
Well, it was challenging. I had to go pretty private online. I just had to share superficial. It was my income, so I had to do my ads and do those things, and then just keep everything kind of top level. Because I didn't share anything for almost a year after the separation. I didn't say a word about it. I was just healing privately. I was trying to manage what was happening with the kids and
all of that. Had you even announced that you were separated? No,
I didn't announce it for like 9 months, till 9 months afterwards. I just wanted to keep it private. A lot of people were speculating and saying things, but I just wanted to keep that private. For everyone's sake, mainly for my children. And I didn't really know how to navigate that because I'd been so open and honest with everything. And when I did announce it, it was funny because I had thousands of people instantly unfollow because they were like, all in for the family and all in for the, a lot of Christian women and a lot of, it was just, and I got quite a bit of, interestingly, quite a bit of backlash in my DMs for separating.
That is insane. I feel like, although again, you were in that original era, whereas I feel like I sort of came in a newer wave. I'm a bit younger, and I felt like there was quite a lot of support, which was really nice. I still get, though, like people who have their 2 cents, but I do find, dealing with children and divorce is such a complicated issue. I feel like in our generation, if your parents got divorced, because it was such a new thing to do, like you think our grandparents' generation, it was not very common to get divorced. I feel like our parents didn't have the same focus around the emotional security of children just because they didn't experience it themselves, and so they didn't really know what to prep for and whatever. Whereas like I feel like in our generation a lot of people have had divorced parents, or you had friends that had divorced parents, or whatever. And so I feel like children and their emotional security is really important. So I have a similar sort of approach. A lot of the ins and outs of my separation has been kept private for my children. And the biggest thing I said, and I've shared this on the podcast before, lots of the details of things that happened are not a secret, but they're not age appropriate at the moment for my children. So it's not something that I'm like, I would never share this with my kids. It's just like, oh, they're 2 and 3. I can't really share this with them right now. And a big thing I always say to people is I want them to be the first person to know details about their own life, not them be in the schoolyard one day and have some kid being like, well, my mummy said that your mummy and daddy blah, 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 which is a really big thing that can happen, especially when you're sharing so much of your life online. So I was very the same of like, there's a lot of stuff that I just do top level because I'm like, well, I want my kids to hear this first. And then, maybe one day when they know and it's not, a shock for them to hear from a third party, there's more I can share. But until then, that's just the way it is. And I found it really interesting, like while I've been going through the divorce process, like discussing with my lawyers, so what are the like regulations around divorce and social media and children? She's like, oh, there is none. It's so new that there is no precedent in court around like any decisions to do with social media and children outside of just like normal community guidelines and what's like, you know, exploitative and things like that. And that really shocked me too. And I said to her, I was like, I think in the next 10 years that will change and there will start being like a lot of things around social media and whatever. But it is a really new landscape that we have to navigate and understand. And I feel like especially you're in that stage now where you've got older children. So it is more complicated because I would assume your oldest son would have social media. And if not, I'm sure his friends would definitely have social media, which is a whole ball game.
A whole nother ball game. Yeah. I'm constantly changing the parameters of what I feel like I should share. I've changed, like I've gone back through past posts way back in the day and deleted them because now I have fresh eyes. Now I have a teenage son. His friends do follow me, some of them. Like I have to go in and he asks me to block some of them sometimes. Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, I have the landscape, like there's no rule book for this. We don't know how it's going. We're learning as we're going. It's okay to think, okay, I did this before, but I don't think this sits well with me now. So I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to change things and change the parameters of what I share. But I think where I'm at now is kind of the better for the kids, but it's a double-edged sword because you want to share to help other women because that's actually what I needed. And that's when I go out there and when in my DMs, women are like, thank you for being the voice because I'm going through this now and no one in my friend group is and they don't understand and they relate to you. So it's that fine line of doing that, but then keeping your own privacy as well. And I'm in a new relationship, so I don't want to overly blast that either because he didn't ask to be in this world.
Yes.
And then at the same time, it is my income and I'm a sole provider for my children. So I have to share to a certain level. So I'm just navigating all of these things to how I can show up authentically, vulnerably, but still be private, still make an income. It's just a lot to juggle. Yeah.
If we reflect back, like in the early days, do you remember like the sort of feelings you had around navigating co-parenting? I'm assuming you didn't start with 100% custody. Did you have some co-parenting sharing in the beginning?
Totally.
The legal process, the emotional tolls of divorce. Like you don't have to get into the nitty-gritties of your divorce, but more like what you were feeling and the things that you remember sort of navigating.
Yeah. Well, it's very the most challenging time for me wasn't becoming a single mum and that co-parenting years, which I did for 2 years beautifully and successfully, and it was amazing. It was becoming a solo mum. Which was 2 years down the track. And then all of a sudden going, oh, wow, I'm going to do this alone financially, time-wise, holding my children's emotions going through this period. Well, I was like, it was a lot to navigate for all of us. That's been the most difficult challenge for me. And everyone's circumstance is different. And I have so many women in my DMs sharing all sorts of different ways. But just that the isolation, the lack of support, I think it's finding the village. Like I don't really have family nearby. It's all of those things post separation that I think you navigate. It's the support, it's the finances, it's the emotions, it's looking after your kids, it's the kids' emotions, it's holding their emotions while you're navigating your own emotions. It's like trying to do the best for them, but having to put what's that analogy? Your face mask on first, because if you're not okay, they're not going to be okay.
Yeah.
I went through some really dark times privately. I couldn't really share anything about it for my kids too, because I don't want them to see me talking badly about anyone either, you know? So I need, it was like I remember being on the kitchen floor, like just crying, going, I don't know how to do this. I can't do it. Like how am I meant to do this on my own? And then I have to show up and do like a deodorant ad or an undies ad online. The jarringness of that, because that was due that day and that's how I have to provide an income. But not being able to share that reality of that.
I really we had an issue that kind of happened and then out of the blue, no expectation of that, didn't see anything coming. Within 4 days, I was out of the house and into my new rental. I took those 4 days. I took 3 days after that to gather my thoughts, and then it was back into work online, having to front up on social media. Hey, I've me and my husband are taking us, like, we're separating, we're taking a break from each other. I've moved into a new house. And then it was like, okay, well, life goes on. Like, I've got to work and I've got to keep showing up or whatever. And like, I know that that's not unique in terms of like lots of single mums leave. And then it's like, I've still got to go to work. I've still got to show up. My kids still got to go to school. Like, I can't just like fall down and, curl up into a ball and cry all day, even though you really want to. And that was really jarring to me, and being like, I don't have a choice. And one thing I always say to people, something I think you don't realize when you're married and you've never experienced single parenthood, is the idea of having, I call it like the bungee net. Like trapeze artists, if they fall, there's that little springy net that sits under you.
Yeah.
And I kind of imagine a co-parenting relationship a bit like that. Like, you're doing your own tricks, you're doing your own things, but if you miss the bar and you fall, there's someone there to spring you back up. And the hardest thing I found in the last 8 months is realizing that's not there at all. So if you go, for me, I've got toddlers. I've had a really hard day with them, heaps of big emotions. Maybe they're coming down with something sick. They've been on me all day, crying, can't be happy, can't do anything. They haven't eaten dinner. Then you've gone to do bedtime. Bedtime's taken 2 hours of me laying in the dark saying, shush, time to go to bed, whatever, crying. You come out and it's like, you look around your house, it's a tip, because while you were in the bed for 2 hours, there's no one there that's cleaning up after you or assisting or whatever. And then for me, it's like, oh, well, I don't have daycare, so I go at night and do a lot of my work. So it's like, okay, I've just got to clean the house. Then I've got to go and do, 3 or 4 hours of work until midnight. And I've got no one that I can even bounce an idea off or say like, oh, that was a really hard day. I need a cuddle. I need some reassurance. Even just someone that oh, okay, well, at least it's not just me. At least I've got you and we're both going through this and we're, by each other's side. That's what I say to people is I find the hardest bit, like not missing the financial stuff and like, yes, that sucks, like not having those things or, not having the extra set of hand. It's not having that emotional safety net of being like, I need to know that someone is here with me and someone is going through it with me. And I feel like that can sometimes be the most isolating thing about being a single mother is you're just like, I really am alone. Like, I am holding this load alone. And you said you have a partner. I've just started dating someone in the last 6 months. My partner has never had kids before. So while he's there for me, he also to a degree can't get it because, when you have kids, like you think you understand, but you just don't. And it's like, even though I think maybe you would find the same, while that second partner is there, it's not exactly the same when it's not their own children and it's not that same soul bond. And like step parents are amazing and, having partners can be amazing, but it's just different. Like I think that realization of like, I'm alone and to a degree I will always now be by myself in some capacity when it comes to parenting, and that can just make you feel so isolated.
Yeah, I still feel, and I say that I'm in a beautiful relationship and we've moved in together. We live together. He has a daughter 50% of the time. We have my kids 100% of the time, and he's so wonderful. He does one-on-one with my kids. He's so connected with them. But I still have safety nets in my head. I still have the logistics. I still do the school pickups, the drop-offs, because, that's not it's not his life. They're not his kids, at the end of the day. And I feel guilty. I would never put all of that on him. So I'm doing the soccer runs. I'm doing this. So I come home exhausted and he helps where he can, but it's just like, it's very different because then it can affect your relationship as well, because you don't want to put that, like, you don't want him to be a maid but then he doesn't understand the whole load that you're carrying and the mental load. And I think, it's not just step parents or parents. I think it's a father, mother, male, female thing as well, is that we carry the mental load, right? And a lot of women are in relationships still or married still and feeling as isolated as probably we are because their man has checked out or he doesn't help and they still live in the same house. I speak to women all the time that feel like single mums within a relationship too. So I feel like a lot of this is the load that we carry as women, and especially women who work and women who are juggling all the things. We're the default parent in many cases, regardless if we're single mums or not. And that pressure, men just don't get.
Let's take a quick break to shout out New Harvest, our sponsor this season and the brand I genuinely reach for every day. Their gorgeous greens powder has been a staple in my routine for years now. It's packed with superfoods, probiotics, and veggies, but it actually tastes amazing. My girls love the strawberry flavor in their smoothie, and I'm obsessed with banana lolly to start my morning. It's such an easy win for my gut health, especially on chaotic days where veggies just aren't happening. New Harvest is female founded and all about creating wellness products that support real women with real lives, which is exactly why I love them and have worked with them for the past 3 years. You can try out NH's full range of supplements for yourself at www.nakedharvestsupplements.com with the discount code BELLSMESSINA. Okay, greens handled, gut happy. Let's get back to chatting. I'm really lucky my partner, he has an alias. So like you were saying before, it's sometimes nice not to just throw your partner into a world that they didn't sign up for. With my partner, him and I kind of had the discussion of a slow introduction to the world of social media. So people know I have a partner. They've not seen him. They don't know his name. He has an alias, which is Gentle Boy on my podcast. So if I say GB, that is my partner I'm referring to. I'm really lucky because GB was actually raised by 100% single mum. So his dad abandoned him 17, nearly 18 years ago, hasn't seen him since, left the country, the whole shebang. So the benefit of that is he understands the plight of the single mum from the perspective of the child, and his mum in his eyes is, you know, a hero. Like she is the superwoman.
It's amazing.
Yeah. He loves her dearly. You know, his mum is everything to him. Which is really reassuring, really nice because he does understand to a degree. Like he always says no one works harder than a single mum. He's like, it's just not possible. He's like, my mum didn't go to the dentist for 10 years because she wanted to make sure I never missed the school camp. So she, you know, didn't have basic medical needs, things like that because he sacrificed for me. And he always says that. He's like, I know I will never know 100%, but I know to a degree what you're going through and how much load you carry, which is really nice. But yeah, we do have that conversation where I'm like, you don't have that same pull of like, they're your children and, you know, it's just not the same and it will never be the same. And like, you know, he's amazing. He's really great with kids, loves being around the girls. The girls love him. But it's not the same when they don't have that load. And one thing I've also really had to navigate, and I don't know if you felt the same when you started dating your partner, but even, you know, starting a new relationship or, you know, moving into your own house, I went through a massive period of grief of just being like, this was not the life that I imagined. This is not the life I signed up for. You know, I did 2 under 2 and I've had many times being like, I would never, ever trade my girls in for the world. And I'm so glad they have each other after the experience we've gone through because I always say to people, you know, the best thing is like even moving between homes or whatever, they always have each other and that's their constant and they're so close in age that like they can play so well and, you know, do all of that. And I always stress them, I'm like, you're best friends. Like you will always have each other. Your sisters are everything to you. Like don't waste that relationship. But I remember many times thinking in the beginning, I wouldn't have done 2 under 2 if I knew this. I was doing this by myself because, you know, they're so little. I'm still changing 2 nappies, feeding 2 kids, bathing 2 kids. Like they don't have that like independence of doing a lot of things by themselves. And I've had so many periods of just grieving and just crying and saying like, just being angry. Like this is not my choice. This is not what I've signed up for. And, you know, really learning like, it is a grief of losing a marriage and losing a relationship and having a separated family, similar to like, you know, when someone dies, you know, people feel like, oh, I didn't choose this, I didn't want this, whatever. Do you feel like you've gone through grieving stages?
I have grieved for my children and what they have lost more than anything. So that's the hardest thing for me by far. Everyone's situation is different. My one is that they're with me 100% of the time. It's not what I wanted for them. And that is so painful to watch them go through that. That's all I can really say about it, unfortunately. But that's like, that's been and I have grieved for them and for their future and the trauma they're going to have and the trauma they're going to bring into their future relationships.
Yeah.
And I think about this all the time, and I'm like, oh my, because I've done so much work on it. We all have our own childhood traumas that we've brought into relationships that we're trying to work on so we don't bring it into the next relationships and all of those things. And my first thing is like, oh my gosh, how's this going to play out in my daughter's relationship in the future, and how's her issues going to be with men, and how, all of these things. And that's my grief. But for myself, there's been moments, but I truly don't think I've had the time to grieve for myself because I've had them with me all the time. I haven't had those days where I'm just like by myself at all, ever. I was always tending to their needs. I think if I actually stop and think about it, like I have guilt and I have shame because of their experience. So it's outside of myself because I'm an adult. I can make choices for myself, knowing that they are the best choices for them essentially, but I can't stop the hurt that they're going through.
Yes. And I think it's also really hard as well when you're online and, sometimes online people say things to you in a message that they would never say to your face. So you have people that, judge and bring up things and you're there going, you think I haven't thought of this? You think I haven't sat back and said to myself, oh, I'm really disappointed that this is, the reality or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you do this. When we were on the retreat, we did a thing where we wrote letters to our children or to someone we wanted to write a letter to. And I remember you said something in your – I'm not going to share anything private, but I remember you said something in your letter where you said, to my beautiful children, I will always tell you that I made you from love and we made you from love, as in their dad and you. And that is something I have clung to so deeply over the last 8 months, that sentiment, because I'd never really thought of it like that before. And that is something I always constantly tell my girls when they have big questions about things. Like, why don't you and dad live together anymore? And, my friends, do this with their mummy and their daddy, or they'll watch TV or movies or shows. They're so little. They don't really get the concept. And we were watching Baby Boss on Netflix, and there's a scene where the mum and dad are laying in the bed with the kid reading a book. And then Rosie goes, see, mummy, when you read a book at night, it should be daddy on one side and mummy on the other side. And one thing I really lent into to explaining to her is saying, well, mummy and daddy don't live together anymore, but we made you with so much love in our hearts. And you were the result of mummy and daddy loving each other so very much. And I have found that such a comfort for both of us, and was such a beautiful way that you made me realize that while maybe now things didn't go the way that we wanted them to, the intention at the start was nothing but pure and good and, with so much hope.
Totally.
And makes you feel a lot more comforted, I found. So I found that was like a really profound thing that you had shared.
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell them that they were born out of love. They're born out of love. They're from love. And, I wish that it could still be, the
way, but sometimes life happens.
But not necessarily. There are people, and we did it for a while, where we co-parented so well, and I was so proud of that, because it's not the divorce or the separating that damages the kids. It's how you deal with it after.
Yes,
that's where the damage is done.
I always say this on the podcast, my ex-husband and I, when it comes to anything but the kids, we are a bit cat and dog, right? We have a lot that we, disagree on and fight on. But luckily so far for us, when it's come to co-parenting, we are very aligned. And I share a lot of the stuff that we do together. Like we did Christmas morning together last year. He didn't stay over. He came over at like 5 a.m. and waited for the girls to wake up so that we could do Santa together. And, he has a new partner as well. And we just had Benny, my youngest, second birthday, and we did a play center party, and him and his new girlfriend came, and we did it all together. And, we've been doing that really well. And I have a lot of people who reach out to me and they're like, that's my dream of co-parenting, and how do you make that happen? And one thing I always say back is, unfortunately, you need two to tango. And you can have all the hopes and wants and dreams of, being this amicable amicable co-parents and doing what's best for your kids, but both people have to come to the table. And if they don't, it's just not possible. And it's not something that you have to, that the mum's done something wrong or whatever. It's just, unfortunately, you need two people to make that happen. And I always remind people of that when they're like, I just can't have that relationship right now. I'm like, that's not your fault though. Like you can want something so badly, but if they don't want it too, they're not going to come. And I always say, I can say a lot about my ex, but a testament to him when it comes to co-parenting is he shows up to the table and he wants the same things, and that's how we make it happen. And I think a lot of people, put that pressure and need to let that off themselves.
And it's so hard, but you have to you cannot control other people. The only thing you control is yourself and your reaction to the situations. And that's a huge lesson to learn and to surrender to. But that's it. That's all you can do.
Yeah. I would love to know, because there will be a lot of people that are listening to this that are in a similar season of life to me. What's your advice to someone who's right at the start of the single parenting journey? Like, what do you wish you could go back and say to fresh, divorced single mum you?
I had the foresight to trust the process when I was in it, and just don't think about 5 years down the track, am I going to meet someone else? How's it going to look? It's literally one step at a time, one day at a time, finding joys in little moments, surrendering to whatever your season that you're in, whatever you're doing, and giving yourself love, finding love and joy. Your children, just need you to be present. They don't need you to be perfect. They can see you in all your emotional states. That's okay for them to see that as well. It's not pretending. And just trusting that everything's working out for your highest good. And I really believe that always, even in the toughest moments, and I would never go back and change any of my darkest times because of the growth and everything that I've learnt from those moments, truly.
Don't you reckon going through that experience, it makes you really think, wow, the universe works in the weirdest ways?
Totally. Because sometimes the universe has to give you a little push in a direction for you to really step into where you're meant to be.
Yeah. What do you feel like people don't talk about enough in terms of the single parenting journey?
Well, probably the post-separation abuse. That's what's in my DMs a lot. It's like sometimes people have left toxic situations and it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah. After
you're separated.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, because kids are involved in custody and courts and all sorts of things.
People don't realize divorce processes, legal processes, court processes, I think a lot of it is unintentional, but it does muzzle a lot because you when things are in proceedings and legal stuff is on afoot, you're actually legally not allowed to say anything. It can be contempt of court. You can end up going to jail, being punished. And so a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't speak about it because they can't. They might want to. They might want to say well, this is happening and I'm going through this. And it's like, well, you're not allowed to. And because family court is sealed as well, you may never be allowed to discuss a lot of stuff, which also makes it very, very challenging.
Yeah, it does. And the financial pressure that the women are left in as well. The child support system is so broken. The amount of times I have spent crying to the child support officer, honestly, it's just the most broken system. And like I said, if I didn't have my safety net, I went through a phase because I had to give my kids 100%. I had to be at every pickup, drop off, go through, take them to therapy, do all of that. I had to take a massive step back from my business. And thankfully I had a successful business which was going to be my house fund that I had to go into. If I did not have that during that year, I would have ended up homeless if I was just living on what I was bringing in. I would have ended up homeless with my kids, or I would have had to move right back out to my mother's. Yeah. And I'm in a position of privilege, so I think all the time about these women who aren't, and their partners who use finances as a way of getting back to them, which is just hurting the children.
Yeah, is insane.
It's insane. Yeah, so I feel like that's not. I've spoken to a little bit, but like all of these things, it's hard to talk about them a lot because you don't want your children to be hearing their things to be aired on social media that it's going to come back to them through friends. So it's very tricky to navigate. So I like to just talk about things in general terms. The women that are in my DMs, there's so many all the time, and there are common threads of these things, which is the post-separation stuff, which is the custody stuff, which is the financial and the child support. But there is just the lack of support, and a lot of women who have been raising children in that era, they've lost a lot of their friendships as well. So they find themselves completely isolated without that friendship group.
Yeah.
I was so lucky to meet Kelly, who's my retreat co-host that you've had on during that time, just through that separation period. And she was a single mum too. And she has been my lifeline, like not only as a healer, but becoming my best friend. And she's the person, like you were talking about before, there's no one to really download to. We after school drop off, we're like, holy fuck, that was just insane. Like, what a morning. I did, she's like, her boy's been chased down the street with the dog and they drop donuts. Like, we just share, we download with each other about how hard it is.
Yeah.
And just having that solidarity of someone going, oh my God, this is really hard, makes you feel so much better. So I think female friendships, even just one friend that gets it, is so important.
Yes. I found, since separating, especially, like my best friend in like the whole world, she's a stay-at-home mum in a really beautiful, healthy marriage. She's got 2 beautiful kids, and she's amazing. And I would never trade her friendship in for anyone. And she's still my number one port of call usually when it comes to things. But the relationships I've made with other single mums, because you're like, you know exactly what I mean and what I'm going through and whatever, they become so sacred to you. But like that is my whole why of why I'm on social media, right? And I say that all the time. If it was about money, I would have quit social media years ago, because there are amazing pros, and it's great to have a job that you can work from home and be super flexible with, but there are a lot of cons, and to me the money is just not worth some of those cons. But the thing that really makes me show up every day and love it is I love creating that sense of community online. I always say that I try and make my pages a virtual village for people. So if you don't have anyone, come over here and I can share. I have subscribers now where I do, like, we have group chats, and people have made real friends with other people in their cities from there, and I do events and all that stuff, because it can be so isolating in motherhood and you can feel so alone. Obviously your journey has been different to mine, because I do have 50% custody. So I do get time where I get time alone.
I did it first. Thankfully I did, because I wouldn't have been able to date or find a partner if I didn't have that. There was, because I had women in my DMs that were saying, I have 100% custody of my kids. How do you have the time? How did you find the time to build a relationship and nurture that? And I was like, well, because at the beginning I had some time to be able to do that. Thankfully, like, I didn't date or do anything for 2 years post-separation, which is all about healing, all about the kids. But then when I did start dating, it was only because I had that support there with the children. Otherwise it would have been impossible. So we built this beautiful relationship, and I didn't introduce him to the kids for 6 to 9 months at all. But we had built this relationship where we knew that it was serious, and we knew we wanted to be each other. We had space for that.
Yes.
Then everything changed, and I think that I wouldn't have been able to create a relationship had I been in the situation that I'm in now. Absolutely not. There wouldn't have been any space for it.
Well, what I was going to say is, like, I have shared a lot of my healing journey. I've done a lot of work with Kelly in the last 12 months, a lot of work. I've shared a lot of that. I've done a lot of therapy. I got diagnosed with autism and ADHD, and I've been working through that. And sometimes people say, I accidentally met my current partner about 3.5 months after I left my marriage, like really accidentally, had no intentions of whatever. And it just sort of one of those things where it's like, oh, it just happened. Like, this person showed up, and then we sort of did the same. We had 6 months of really realizing, like, oh, this is serious and we have big feelings about each other and whatever, before I introduced him to the kids. And a lot of people always say, like, how did you feel so ready to date again? And I was like, well, I didn't go out looking for someone, but I was like, I did, deep deep healing work. I think in the last 6 to 8 months, I've done more healing work than some people do in 10 years. I've just done it in a really condensed period of time.
Yeah.
And I was lucky that I had a head start too. I started doing a lot of soul searching and self-work about 6 months before my marriage ended, because I, had postpartum depression and was just like, I can't live like this. I need to be a better version of myself. What did you find helped when you went through in terms of healing? Like, what did that look like in real time for you?
It was my female friendship. I like you, I think like most women pre-separation, they've been doing their work for at least 6 months to a year before. Like there's, when it gets to the point where you are leaving that situation or a marriage, you know that you've really gone to the depth of everything to explore everything before you get to that. And I think that is a common thread for a lot of people. So the healing, I say my healing didn't start at separation. It started, the separation was a result of the healing. Yeah. Because I was going through all of that first. And what helped me was a positive mindset. I got into health, polite, like just having little focuses, like learning new things, like connecting with people. My online community helped me so much, I have to say, like having that connection, like real life connection I had with Kelly and that. But, when you're a mum of young kids, you don't have a lot of time to go out with your friends and do those things. But you do have a lot of time to sit on the couch when the kids are in bed, right? Yeah. And instead of watching TV or doing those things, I would connect with other women online. And that was so just as helpful for me as it is for any other woman sharing my story to help them. Like really, it's been instrumental in my healing journey. But yeah, it's connection. I think that's what it is. It's connection. It's support. It's knowing you're not doing it alone. Yeah. That's the key.
And I always say to a lot of single mums, like, part of that comes from, like, you don't have to do it at the scale that you and I do it, but putting yourself out there. Like, I think, especially when I left my partner, I also had a lot of friendships that broke down after my marriage broke down, which I think a lot of people go through. Like, you have a lot of shifts of a lot of the relationships in your life. And I really realized that, good connections most of the time do not fall in your lap. Unfortunately, they are something you have to look around for, pursue, make yourself a bit uncomfortable to get. And I sort of say the same. Like, I find, healing online and sharing that journey has really been helpful more than hurtful to me, because it does allow you to connect with other women. And I'm the same. There are so many women who have shared so many pieces of wisdom and so many thoughts and encouragements that I honestly say, and I say this to women all the time, you guys help me way more than I help anyone else. Like, I've got my own little personal Google that sits on my TikTok and Instagram app, and I can, put a question out there and have, hundreds of thousands, sometimes real life experiences relayed back to me for me to like learn from and, live off, which is just so special. And then, I always say to people like, not everyone can share online, and it's not for everyone, but seeking that connection and seeking other people who are living the experience you're living is so helpful and so significant in moving forward. I would definitely agree. Do you ever have a response from a follower that has like really stuck with you, or like some piece of advice that has been shared with you that you still like reflect on or think about?
I'm still shocked because when you are online, you kind of, I separate online to real life quite a bit. So when it merges and when I go out, so I was just at Westfields the other day, and this woman was walking in front of me with her daughter, and I was with Poppy. She turned around and she said, "I just have to say that you've helped me so much as a single mum, what I'm going through right now." And I was like, oh my goodness, like it's really jarring. And it happened I went to the David Jones Mother's Day morning tea, and I had the same situation there. And I've had it on and off throughout whether it's sharing through my fertility or whatever, you realize you actually, like, I remember this when I was doing an expo when I just launched my pajama line. It was a babies and kids expo, and this man came up to me and he said, "My wife is over there and she's crying because she can't come over and speak to you because you were so instrumental when she went through her miscarriages. You were her beacon of light." And this was her husband saying that to me. And it just shocked, like it just made me realize, wow, like just sharing your vulnerabilities, which is all I did. That's all I did, is just sharing it. resonates so much and truly helps people.
Yeah.
And that is my why, like it is yours. Like that is my why. That is the community is actually really helping. It's not to get clout or to, like, I'm a very introverted and quiet person. I don't like being the center of attention.
Yes.
Funnily enough, this is how I say I fell into this, what I'm doing. But just like, that's what lights me up is that people go, you just by you sharing, which is so simple, just to share, to say, because on Instagram, you know, people pretend everything's rosy, and I get it. Some people just want to share the highlights, and I go through phases where I just share the highlights as well. I do, because sometimes the rest is just too messy to share, and you don't even know how to show up in it.
Yeah.
But it just, the fact that just being vulnerable, it's been the highlight that's come out of social media for everybody in different phases, whether it's body image, whether it's fertility, whatever it is, you know, the truth behind being a mum in business, whatever it is, that vulnerability truly helps so many people to follow their dreams.
I always say vulnerability is a superpower, because it's actually proven that vulnerability is the fastest way to make human connection, right? So being vulnerable and sharing stuff that usually you wouldn't makes you form strong connections with others in the quickest way possible. And so I always say to women, you know, you don't have to be vulnerable on a huge level, but sometimes, you know, when you're at a mother's group and someone's crying, you know, that, I don't know if you've ever been to play groups, you know, there's been heaps of times I've gone to play group, stay-at-home mum, there'd be another mum there and she's burst into tears. I always say to people, you know, sometimes being vulnerable in those moments, in smaller moments, like not to hundreds of thousands of people, just to one other person, really does change someone's life, and especially in motherhood is really a significant way to connect with people. It is funny when you I'm kind of the same. I think, or I say this all the time, I think all creators disassociate a little bit in terms of follow accounts. Like I always say, sometimes I feel like I'm playing The Sims and it's not really real. Like those numbers aren't real people, because otherwise it's too daunting. I think your brain does that. It's like
so daunting
protection mechanism, right? And then you have that experience where you meet someone and they share with you. Like I run a social bingo club in Brisbane, and it's just for mums, and we chose bingo because you can't bring people under the age of 18. So no one could bring their mums if they wanted to, their kids if they wanted to. They had to go by themselves. And we go and we had one of the girls one time, she won a massive jackpot. She won like $2,000. And it was maybe only a few months into the bingo club, because we only go once a month. And we were walking outside and she just burst into tears and goes, "Here, I want you to have the winning money." I said, "I don't want that. You keep that. Why are you trying to give that to me?" She goes, "Oh, well, you've changed my life in so many ways, and I can't repay you. Like I want to repay you somehow. Like you take the winnings." And I was like, "Girl, I don't need your winnings. I'm not taking your winnings. Like also you're a mum. Like please, it would make me so much happier if you went and like got your hair colored and brought yourself a nice, you know, outfit and, you know, went out to lunch with your girlfriends or something. Like don't spend that money on bills, or don't spend that money on your children. Like be selfish for once. Like that's what you can do instead of giving it to me. Be selfish with the money and go spend it on whatever you want. That's not like a necessity. Like go splurge." But it was really shocking to realize like, sometimes vulnerability can lead to like such impacts on others, and it's really special. And I always encourage even my personal friends, like when they're like, "Oh, you know, like I don't know how to connect with this," or I'm like, be vulnerable. Like just say, like, why not just say like, "Oh, I'm having a hard time. I'm not feeling the best. I'm not doing this," or "This happened to me. It was really hard." I was like, you'll be amazed how many people want to rally around you and help you. And that has been also a really big healing lesson for me. Just ask for the help. Just share that you're struggling. You don't have to be this martyr superwoman that always has it together and never needs anything. I learned that a lot in my postpartum depression too. It is totally okay if, you know, you have a friend that says, "Let me cook you dinner and I'll drop it round so you don't have to cook dinner one night this week." It's okay to say, "Yes, actually, that would be so helpful. I would love that." Because I feel like as mums and women, like our first response is to say, no, oh gosh, don't put yourself out. That's fine. I don't need that, whatever. And it has been a long road to realize I can say, actually, like I would love that. I do need some help. I do need some support. I'm not doing as well as, you know, I think I should be or I'd like to be. Please help me. I feel like we have like covered so much that has really, I have enjoyed this chat, and I really hope that other people have. I guess like one sort of thing that I would really like to end on is kind of you maybe sharing a little bit about how this chapter has shaped you, maybe not just as a mum, but as a woman as well. And then how it has like redefined happiness for you and partnership and success, but from a really hopeful viewpoint. You know, I feel like when you're going through this, you have this, your brain automatically jumps to the negatives, right? Like I thought, oh, I'm never going to be able to love someone the same way again. And, you know, I'm always going to be struggling and blah, 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 blah. And I found there's been really beautiful reshapings of the person I am from this. And I'd love if you would share some of yours.
Totally. There is so much hope. And I always say this to people, go, oh, you give me hope. I'm like, there is always hope. Like my life is so beautiful right now. Like it's always going to be messy. Life is always going to be messy. Doesn't matter what your situation is. But I have learned to trust my intuition. I've had so much growth from everything that I've gone to. I feel like I'm a more present mother, even how I show up in my son's life. Like I am, like what I know now about soccer and soccer mum life, like I'm in there negotiating contracts and like I had no idea that was something that he did, you know, without me for 10 years. And the connection that I've forged with my children because of this. And also it just propelled me on this journey on discovering the woman inside the mother and who I am outside of motherhood, like that she matters too. You know, that's the journey I'm on. Like this woman and this little girl inside, she matters as well. Like we are mums. It is our priority, but we're not just mothers. We also have to follow our own dreams and our own hopes. And I shared a reel just the other day saying that we're just a girl living life for the first time too, you know. We get so caught up in motherhood sometimes that we forget that because we're always giving, we're always pouring into everybody else, but we need to really take the time to get to know ourselves and really love ourselves truly, deeply, you know, and we're breaking patterns. We're breaking, like we are the generation of cycle breakers for our children, how we show up to our kids. And we need to really not do that from a place of like martyrdom, you know, like our mothers and grandmothers is like sacrifice. We need to fill ourselves up. This is what I'm learning, like really fill ourselves up to be able to fill them up as well. And, but there's always hope, and I always trust the best is yet to come. Always. Yeah. That's my mantra, is the best is yet to come.
Yeah. That I have that. And then I'm also like, in my head, I always say, this is happening for me, not against me.
Yes.
And I feel like when you lean into that and realize like, I can't see it now, but something about this is working for me, it makes you feel that comfort of surrendering and being like, okay, well, I'm going to just allow it to happen then, because I know in the end it's for the best. I don't have any more questions. Do you think I missed anything that you wanted to add and people didn't hear?
I think we covered the full gamut, didn't we? We went pretty deep.
If someone wants to find you online, where can they find you? I'll put your stuff in the show notes as well.
Yeah, so Instagram at Marcia Leone _ is where you can find me. Notsomumsy.com as well. I have still got my blog, my website, my shop, retreats.
Yes,
if you want vulnerability, come to our retreats. Yeah, we do. We have one in Byron Bay, which is happening. We've only got 2 rooms left, and that's happening end of August, 29th of August.
Shared rooms?
One private room and one shared room is left, and it's a beautiful Marcia? 3 nights.
I'm going to be crazy. No. I'm going to buy the private room for someone who's listening, I think. Let's do it. Do you want to do that?
Oh, my gosh. I was just thinking, I said to Kelly yesterday, I said, because the last 2 retreats we've had somebody anonymously buy a room for a single mum or a mum. Yes. And I thought, should I put that out again to see if someone does? I can't believe you just said that.
Yeah, let's do
Bella,
it.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
That's incredible.
For someone listening to this episode, I'll do it on the episode page and I'll pay the accommodation fee, the cost of the room for them. And they just have to get themselves to Byron Bay. I think because it changed so much for me. I feel like there is someone, especially as well, I know a lot of single mums would be listening and it's just not in their budget right now.
Totally.
So I reckon let's do that.
And it's transformational.
Yeah.
You're amazing, Bella. Oh my gosh. That's just paying it forward like that. That's amazing.
I bought my ticket to your retreat using my socials money. All my savings from a year of social media work as a stay-at-home mum, I bought my retreat ticket. So I feel like my audience, in a way, already paid for me to go. So I'll pay for someone in my audience to go. I think that'll change their life.
Oh, you're amazing.
All right.
Oh my gosh, it will change your life. You're amazing.
I'll do something on social media. I'll message you after this and we can organize it.
Okay.
And then I'll do a post on social media and we can give it away to a listener. I think that would be insane.
Okay. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love you. You're amazing.
Okay. All right. I'm going to love you and leave you because we've been yapping. I love you. Fly.
Have a good day.
Yeah, let's do that. All right.
That's so cool. I can't believe I was just thinking about it. It's aligned. All right. Bye, babe.
Bye. Did I not tell you that chat with Marcia was amazing? As I said at the end of the episode, I kind of decided on a whim. I am going to be giving one of my UPB listeners the chance to go and do a motherhood retreat with Marcia and Kelly in Byron Bay. I have already purchased the room. I got off the call and I purchased it straight away. You just have to be able to get yourself to Byron Bay at the end of August. I'm going to put all the details for the retreat in the show notes along with a link to it so you can kind of see what is involved in going to one of these retreats. I personally went to the first one they ever did and it was incredible and it changed my life, and they've done like 5 or 6 retreats since then. So I can only imagine they've gotten better as they've done more of them. As I said, I have paid for it. So food and accommodation and the sessions with Kelly and Marcia, that is all included in what I've paid for. This would be incredible for maybe a Gold Coast mama or someone, in Sydney or on the North Coast who was willing to make the drive up to Byron Bay for the weekend to go and experience a retreat like this. To enter, you can either nominate yourself or you can nominate a friend. And I am going to put a Google Drive document that just has a few details and a few questions. But I'm going to lock the Google Drive with a password. So you have to listen to this episode to be able to enter. And the password is going to be inner healing. Okay? It's going to be inner healing, all in capitals, all one word. You got to enter that in to get into the Google Drive and apply to be considered for the person who I am going to gift this experience to. Now, don't think that we're not doing Mind After Midnight because it was a guest episode. Absolutely not. The whole point of this season is to listen from episode 1 through to 15 and do the Mind After Midnight tasks every single week to help you on your journey of rediscovering your best self. And today's little journal prompt homework is, what would you like your future self in 1, 3, and 5 years down the line to say to you right now? It's a little bit of forward thinking of where would you like to be in 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years, and be told by yourself, whether it is a piece of advice, whether it is an outcome that you're hoping for, and you're going to write it down and say, in 5 years' time, I'm going to be living in my own house, or maybe it's just a bit of encouragement. Maybe it's a bit of self-affirmation. In a year's time, my future self is going to say, you were so strong and you did the best that you could. Whatever it is that you feel like you want to hear at different points, I want you to write it down, and I really want you to sit with those words of wisdom. I want you to write it in a very positive mindset. Maybe pretend as if you were writing it to a friend rather than to yourself, just so you use the nicest language possible. And I want you to think, would she thank you? Would she encourage you? Would she remind you that you're not stuck forever? I want you to write it on a piece of paper. At the top, I want it to say a message to me from future me, and I want you to date it with whatever date you're writing it down. And then I want you to fold it up and come back to it in a year. and then come back to it in 3 years, and then come back to it in 5 years. So make sure you put it someplace very special. Keep the advice at your front of mind, and then it is something like a little time capsule for you to look back on. And that was tonight's episode. I just wanted to let you guys know that the tickets for the Up Past Bedtime live event in Sydney went on sale last Thursday and they sold through last Friday. So I am so excited to spend time with 55 of you to record a live episode together, to have some drinks, to have some food, to have goodie bags. Yeah, it's going to be an absolutely incredible night, and I'm so thankful that so many of you wanted to join me. Unfortunately, there are no extra tickets. I've had a few people message being like, oh, I missed the tickets. Are there any more? I oversold them as is. I wasn't meant to sell more than 50, and I went into the back end and added an extra 5 for people. Unfortunately, there's literally no more space in the venue. Like, we physically cannot fit another soul in there. So I'm so sorry if you missed out, but please keep an eye out for future events. I would love to keep doing some events. But in the meantime, I'm going to love ya and I'm going to leave ya, and I will see you or chat to you next week. Okay, sweet dreams.